Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettyjohn.
Aloha and welcome to the Hawaii Boss podcast. This is David Pettyjohn. Today, I'm your personal guide into the boss's office. These are tough times. They require some solid answers, constructive ideas. We are fortunate today, very fortunate to have been able to get into the boss's office of Sherry Menor-McNamara, the Chamber of Commerce Hawaii's president and CEO. We came here today because we're inclined to believe that she may have a few answers. So we ran right over here to see Sherry. Sherry, aloha and welcome.
Aloha, good to see you. Thanks for the opportunity to be on this podcast.
Sure. Hey, we're trying to talk with smart people that are in the thick of things, and as the president and CEO of Chamber of Commerce Hawaii, that sounds like a commerce business. Tell us what some people who are in business may know what the Chamber of Commerce is, but for some who may not know, and for maybe we need to revisit it, what is the Chamber of Commerce and how does it help business in Hawaii?
Sure. So the Chamber of Commerce Hawaii is a statewide membership business organization. And our mission is simply to serve as the advocate for business. Mm-hmm. Our membership comprises of more than 2,500 members.
Wow.
Coming from different industries, different size businesses. We have the one-person shop to more than 2,000 employees. So we really serve a diverse range of businesses here in Hawaii. As the business organization, we serve a number of functions as an advocate. So one, we serve as the advocate at our legislature, as well as city council, and even on the federal level. And why that's important is because we need to ensure that the business voice is represented where decisions are made. And so we just wrapped up our legislative session. And as you know, this year was certainly a challenging one.
Well, tell us maybe one example of a win that we got any wins out of the legislature this year for business?
Absolutely. So We're so grateful and appreciative to the legislature for recognizing the challenges and the devastating impact businesses had on their business during this past year. So if the legislature had not taken these decisions, then it would have made it that much harder towards economic recovery. So here's a few examples.
Sure.
In March or April, actually, the businesses would have faced a huge unemployment insurance tax increase. We're looking at from a Schedule C to Schedule H. So each letter represents an increase in taxes. So with that huge jump, it would have cost employers or tripled the cost per employee in taxes. So we're talking a huge amount per.
So you were right there at the table to try and say, hey, we can't do this. You're going to kill our business. Was that your mission as you headed to the table and
yes,
through this budget process?
On, we recognized the jump that was going to happen. So we worked collaboratively with the legislature, and kudos to the leadership of the House Finance Committee, as well as the House Labor Committee, Senate Ways and Means, and Senate Labor, for really coming together swiftly to come up with a proposal that will be workable. And at the legislature, it's really uncommon to see a bill pass the legislature in 2 months. Actually, less than 2 months. But that happened.
It was significant legislation too. They were talking about big problems, big significant cuts and changes in the budget that they'd already planned. And
so that's when you brought up the budget. That's another thing we're so grateful for. As you know, Hawaii received more than $1.2 billion from the American Rescue Plan, and the legislature allocated more than half of it, $740 million plus, to pay off the UI loan that the state borrowed from the feds. And if they had not allocated that $700+ million into the budget, by the time it was going to be due, which is November of 2022, businesses could have borne the entire amount to pay back.
Well,
So
no.
that's a double whammy. So, again, it took a lot of courage during this time in making those difficult decisions to ensure that they focus on economic recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So though that's been a huge success for business, amongst other proposals that like omnibus tax bill.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I can't swallow that one either.
Yeah.
Omnibus. It's the big bill that has all the money
know,
in it.
exactly. There's so many tax increases in that bill, got me all up. But yeah, so that was held by the House, and that would have also added to the cost of doing business. So, again, we're truly appreciative of the legislature making these tough decisions because, right, there's so much need out there.
Mm-hmm.
And for the businesses to be able to benefit from some of the funds will be a huge support as we venture back on towards economic recovery.
Okay,
And
now,
there's over 2,000 bills that are introduced each session, and the chamber follows probably about 200 to 400 bills throughout the session. Yeah.
Right. Tries to usher them around. And do you have a special person that does that, or is that you? You're the hive mind of, or is it a group of folks that kind of work on trying to keep track of all that stuff?
Yeah, so we have a director of business advocacy, Myung-Oh, who leads the effort. I also testify in hearings, meet with legislators, because when I started with the chamber, I started in government affairs, so that's something that goes to my heart.
Oh, that's your baby. That's your baby. So whoever goes in there has got to know that is Sherry okay with this? Because you've been there, done that. But so that kind of leads me to this other question. This is you're talking about billions of dollars and money and all this stuff, and one person in your the Chamber of Commerce. This sounds like a hard job. You're the boss, but what led you to bring it back a few for us? Government affairs. That's one part of your previous history. What started you off into? Did you see this is where you were going to be when you were coming up? How did this come about for you?
Yeah, no, not at all. So I'm from Hilo, Hawaii, obviously, in a small town of Hilo. I grew up there. Went to public school from K.
My daughter goes to Waikea High School. She graduated.
Oh, no way, really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, Warriors.
Yeah.
I still touch base with my 10th grade English teacher once in a while, so it's great. No, I really enjoyed growing up in Hilo, and you really appreciate how connected the community is and how supportive they are. So that would never. They say you can take the girl out of Hilo, we can never take the Hilo out of the girl. And
well, like scraps and stuff.
Yeah. So and then after I graduated from high school, I went to Los Angeles and went to UCLA there.
Okay.
And then from there, I did some grad study at USC. Then lived in DC, New York. Did a stint in London, and then my 2 years in Japan. And that's when I decided, okay, it's time to come back home.
Yeah.
And moved back home, but I didn't have a job. So that's when I decided, okay, I'll go back to school. So I went to get my JD MBA.
Okay.
Did that. It was during that time that I worked at the legislature.
Sure.
And I really appreciated the whole public policy making process, how relationships are so important. And that was when I finally had the aha moment that I finally had a passion for something, because up until then, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Right.
I mean, every place that I moved to, whether it's LA, the entertainment industry, New York, fashion industry, I kind of navigated towards those areas. I just didn't have that connection. It was fun. I met a lot of great people, but it just wasn't the type of work I wanted to do. So I was really, that's when I really realized that I wanted to do something government affairs. So, I sent my resume to different law firms that had government affairs departments, but no one had an opening. But there was this one person, Laurie Lum, actually from Watanabe Inc. She called me and said, hey, let's have coffee and just talk story. We don't have a position, but I do want to get to know you. Right. And so we met, and then lo and behold, like a few days after, she said, there's an opening in government affairs at the Chamber of Commerce. So I had no idea what the Chamber did. First time hearing about this organization. So I did some research, and I said, my mom has a small business in Hilo. I've seen her struggle
Mm-hmm.
through the 40 years that she's had this business.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the blood, sweat, tears, and the sacrifices she had to make, and that's when I said, I can do this. And 15 years later, I am still at the organization and
Mm-hmm.
enjoying every single day, and take our responsibility to heart, because especially during this time, we know that businesses need to focus on their business. So we are here to support them in any way we can, and one of them is through advocacy.
Well, and I've seen that you've been out there on the forefront trying to say, here's what's going on, the unemployment, funding and different things that are going on. You did mention something in your recent article that there's, it's a 9% unemployment, but there's 20,000 open jobs. What's happening there? And, this is kind of one of the questions that, the big boss ought to know, or at least seeing some trends there. What are you seeing in that? Is it cost of housing, transportation? What's your perspective?
Yeah, it's been challenging for many businesses, more and more. I mean, every day we hear from businesses saying we're having a hard time bringing back people. In fact, there's just one company, they exceeded FY19 numbers. However, because of the shortage of workers, they have to close every Wednesday because of that. And there could be various reasons contributing to that, from childcare to personal safety to plus up, because Hawaii's UI system is very generous.
Mm-hmm.
Like other states, someone can receive UI much longer. I forgot the number of weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and the weekly average amount too, as well as the federal plus ups. So we're in this phase where
Maybe it's a little perverse incentive, it feels like. I don't want,
Yeah,
it's helpful. It's helpful. Certainly people need the help, and I'm not saying they don't need the help,
Yeah.
but there's a balance there. When you say it's time for everybody to start filling up these 20,000 jobs we've got, how do we incentivize them to get there?
And there's a couple of things that, one, if the employer asks the employee to come back to work, they're technically supposed to go back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a challenge there. And then, and two, during the past year, the governor, I believe, did include in the order that those on unemployed don't have to look for a job, because
Sure.
before that you have to show that you're actively looking for jobs to
Right.
receive benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And that has not been lifted.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's also perhaps contributing to the challenge of finding workers.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, there's more than 20,000 jobs available in different industries.
So what are some maybe untapped industries you see that, hey, there's a real opportunity? Because we've all said, and I've talked with the different bosses around and stuff like that, we're so dependent on tourism, which is great, because it's our lovely Aina, and we welcome everyone from the world to come and see. But, if we want to sustain things, what are some of the sustainable sort of industries that you see? Hey, if you get in right now, you guys might have some great opportunities. We all hear tech, but is there anything else that we should say, yeah, jump into these kind of careers and these companies? They really need people, and there's good jobs.
Right. As you know, the hospitality industry was severely impacted. I think more than 200,000 employees were laid off.
Whoa.
And so we recognize that we need to do something. And I think it was in July, we launched hawaiiishiring.com. It was a public-private partnership with Workforce Development Council to bring together different search engines, job search engines, as well as provide resources on the site. So it's sort of a one-stop center where someone can look for a job by island, by industry, by type of job.
And that's open right now. Where is that at? You want to say where that's at?
Sure, it's hawaiiishiring.com.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's easy to use. You can navigate easy to different resources. And one of the things that we recognize is that we needed to provide resources to help upskill, retrain those who are unemployed, because coming from hospitality and going to perhaps, let's say, healthcare industry may not have the same kind of skills that's needed. So we help in that transition period. And some of the top industries that are hiring are healthcare, construction, technology.
I see people on from the Big Island, flying over to Oahu on a daily. Over there with their toolboxes, and they're coming over here to work, and that's where it's happening. So Yeah, a lot of things growing. You see on that east side, there's another, or west side, sorry, development every week over there. It's blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of things, but construction isn't, no, maybe are there entry level types of things that people can get into with construction?
Right. So there's apprenticeship programs
Right.
where you can get trained for the type of skill sets needed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also internships available for the different type of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So, it really provides these resources to help those who have been dislocated to retrain for different types of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And many of them are higher paying jobs. And some decided during this time they wanted a career change.
Right.
So this website also provides the opportunity to do that.
Well, those kind of resources are the kind of things, but the problem is sometimes too, there's also a digital divide. I'm construction, I'm thinking that career, but now I got to go in and create an online identity and start checking emails and stuff, which is, all this. What are some of the challenges that you see for Hawaii as far as, we like to connect, we like to meet, but we're still in this weird Zoom sort of digital sort of space. We can't meet yet. What do you see as the biggest way to maybe we can connect and continue to connect in Hawaii?
Yeah, definitely miss that one-on-one, face-to-face interaction, obviously. And I'm sure many of us are waiting to get back to those meetings, events, and just be together. And we all had to pivot to virtual. And I know many had to hire people through virtually, and actually they've never met them in person. We hired actually a person for membership back in June, and I didn't see him in person until months later.
Right.
So, I think we all have to pivot and be flexible and adaptable. And I think as we move forward and things start to open up, we will continue to meet virtually in some form, because in one way it's more efficient, but also, provides another option to connect.
Sure.
But I think, sometimes you just can't beat that face-to-face, and that's how you establish that relationship, right?
Or hey, pick up a phone, right? We used to do that too. Pick up a phone and call somebody, like, oh, they're not answering my email. Have you called them? Let's call. It's okay. We can talk. It's all right.
Yeah. I think we all pivot to text messaging, emails, and
but now there's so much we just get this like a waterfall of this information. Hard to keep track of all this. We need someone else to sort of manage all this on top of all the ideas and stuff that's coming across. But now, tell me another question that we talk about. Those people are trying to just find jobs, but during this pandemic, there's been people that have kind of had this chance to think, and like you say, career moves and different things. How about folks who've been, had this little incubator idea about a business, and they want to say, how do I get access to start funds? How do I start my thing? Is the Chamber of Commerce a place to go?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We can help provide those resources, but if anything, connect them to other resources that we know provide direct information and education. For example, the Small Business Development Corporation, they're a great resource. We work closely with Hawaii Tech Development Corp, which is part of the DBID administration agency, and they help a lot with startups. So there's different resources out there that can help those who are interested in starting a business go through the steps needed to open up their business.
Well, do you have to be a member of the chamber to make that happen? Or, you can go to the website and find those resources, but then what are the added advantages of actually becoming a member?
Well, yeah, as a member, you have, so pre-pandemic, obviously we had a number of events, so more than 60 events per year.
Wow.
And so
little gatherings, people getting together, talking,
absolutely,
little speakers and things,
from networking to educational seminars, etc. So that was one member benefit. But really, I think more importantly, by being part of an organization like the Chamber, you become engaged in truly making a difference, because without our members, we could not be a strong voice or an advocate for the business community as a whole. And so as a member, you are investing in creating and strengthening our business climate here. And it's a continued challenge every year. And that's what funds our program and our advocacy is through our membership. So, there are members that are engaged into every single event, and there are others that are not engaged, and join the chamber because they know they have to be part of this collective effort. Because we're going to advocate regardless, but the more members we have to help support our mission, the more effective and the more strong our voice becomes.
Yeah, because it is complicated. I mean, like you said, you're tracking 400 bills, that you want to evaluate whether they're pro or not necessarily pro or against business, or that they may have something in them that may be a detriment to business that maybe legislatures haven't identified yet. Because again, with so many competing ideas, wants to try and unify those things and create sort of a cohesive sort of go forward plan. It does take a lot of sort of, well, this is a higher priority than this priority than this priority. That takes a lot of minds and sometimes time. And like you said, only 2 months, they were able to sort of cram through this and prioritize all of that and make all those things happen. So that's just an amazing feat. I mean, it shows the sort of the tenacity of Hawaii and how things can move. But sometimes things move slow in Hawaii. When you get frustrated and you like to move things a little bit faster, sometimes bosses have different tools that they use. Do you ever express your, what's the best way that you express your needs, and not in an angry way? Because sometimes bosses, hey, that boss gets too mad or whatever. How do you move things along in a way that is productive, but also lets people know that you mean business?
I think one is to build that strong relationship. Right?
Okay.
When you build that relationship, you have the trust, you have the access, and then you have a more effective voice. And, things move slowly, but it is incumbent on us to continue to move things forward and provide our perspective. And piece everything together. There's a lot of moving parts all the time. So it's a matter of strategically to ensure that as we piece things together, we can effectively move things forward. It takes patience, obviously.
Sure.
But the more, the different ways we can use our voice and to make our voice heard makes it that much more powerful and stronger to get things done. So for example, at the beginning of the pandemic in March, things were moving kind of slow, and because no one had a toolkit for this, and no one knew what was next ahead of us. And so
no one has experienced it, so we're like, we don't have the rule book on this one. We're going to have to experience it and then adjust as it comes, because no one's experienced it.
Exactly, absolutely. And so for us, using our voice was critically important. So that was through rallies, through petitions, through letters, to virtual rallies. So a number of different communication channels, including social media, to get our voice heard and to say, hey, we need support right now. Our businesses are shutting their doors. They're running out of money. They can't keep their employees employed. And many of them actually use their personal savings to keep their employees employed to the extent possible. Because they felt for their employees. Employees are like family, especially our local business community here.
Yeah, they helped them build a business. Those business owners say, I wouldn't have been here without you. So, I gotta keep you whole so that when this is all done, we can keep going.
Yep, absolutely. So, we felt that with all the CARES fundings coming to Hawaii, what can we do? How can we use those funding to help our business community? Because if our business community continues to have economic activity, then it will benefit as a whole, our state as a whole. So our second phase was working collaboratively with government and coming up with programs. So for example, the Hawaii Restaurant Card Program.
Okay.
As well as Hawaii.
Yeah, I recalled that. Yeah, it was very, helpful.
Yeah, that was an exciting program, just because of how much impact that Restaurant Card Program had. It was a $75 million program that the governor allocated to it. And why that program? It's because, one, the cards were given to those who are unemployed. And it was so nice. I heard stories like, wow, I don't usually get to eat this kind of dinner.
Right.
And it's Thanksgiving. I can actually treat them to a nice dinner, whether it's going to Zippy's or some other neighborhood restaurant they've never been to.
Right.
And for the restaurants to be able to use this program to stabilize some of the challenges at that moment, it was very beneficial. We saw some restaurants having 20% increase in business as a result of it.
Wow.
But more importantly, it was the cash infusion into the economy.
For sure.
And two, the supply chain of the restaurant industry, from the farmers, fishermen, ranchers, to the distributors, to the repairmen, to graphic designers, etc.
Yeah, when
So
those things stop and grind to a halt, they don't just start back up in a minute. And if especially the food chain, if you slow that down to a part where then that starts to affect the actual daily lives of the folks living here. So
exactly.
it's a life stream for us, right?
It is,
Mhm.
exactly. And then so when we had UHERO do an analysis of the program, the return would have been double, $150 million into the economy. So it was, we believe, a success.
Mhm.
And it was an exciting program because a lot of restaurants got creative in
Right.
offering, promotions and, hey, come to my restaurant, use the card, we'll give you 20% off.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I think overall it was a successful program, and this would have been possible without the support of the governor as well
Mhm.
as the legislature in pushing this forward.
Yeah, those creative, if you leave it in the hands of the creative small business owner, usually they can find a way to make things happen better than maybe a program or whatever this or that. But so yeah, putting that money into their hands says, yeah, here, let's give it to you guys, and you guys can make this work. And that ingenuity is awesome. So they got through their, the businesses, there's some that didn't, and we're still trying to, maybe people are trying to come back, and maybe they're not going to be able to come back. So looking forward now, May 7th. 2021. What does this next year look like? What does the next 2 years look like? If you got a goal, your crystal ball prognosticating, Sherry here, what do we got for us?
Well, the bright side is as more people get vaccinated, visitors come
Mm-hmm.
back, and more economic activity is returning.
Mm-hmm.
We see cautious optimism
Okay.
in terms of recovering from this pandemic. However, with that said, we did a survey in January with OmniTrack through our Chamber of Commerce Foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and most businesses said that it's going to take about 16 months to recover. For UHERO, it's just going to take several years to fully recover.
Right.
And so, it's still, while we see a bright path,
Mm-hmm.
bright tunnel, bright light at the end of the tunnel, it's still going to be a challenge because, as you know, many of these businesses lost significant amount of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So to bring that back and then continue from that, it's going to take some time. And so that's how we continue to advocate for resources and financial support. And then not knowing what's going to happen, whether COVID is going to go away completely, whether there's going to be another variant. So I think there's a lot of lessons learned through this pandemic of what not to do and what needs to be done. But what we did see was that there were more partnerships,
Mm-hmm.
collaborations, and more coalitions.
Yeah.
So it really brought people together, even business to business, competitors coming together and helping each other out. Whether it's the chip company who's selling some of his competitors' products,
Right.
Or a restaurant selling groceries. It was really, it just inspires you even more to do more for the business community because they have pivoted, they have endured this most devastating year
Mm-hmm.
in recent history, and to see them push through with grit, passion, and resilience, it makes our job that much more inspiring and more important.
For sure, because they're really the energy of all this, right? This
Absolutely.
is what you provide the service, but then you see the results of the work that they're doing, and combined, everyone is sort of edified, and everyone grows together, and then folks put their mark on the business, the landscape of Hawaii, and this new cooperation, sort of necessity is the mother of invention, I think we've heard before, and so. When we went to visit some folks on Kauai and talk to those bosses over there, they've had to they're historically, that's kind of their method, is pulling together like that, and they can really drive results together and share. Not so, different parts, different islands, more sharing, more caring. I don't know. It's a change, and new normal. What does that look like? We're all sort of rebasing right now. What is the standard that we say is okay for us? And maybe there's some old parts that of the Hawaii commerce and economy that we can probably do without, and try to sort of trade and swap and say, what does it look like going forward? And I love that this inspired small business and business focus. I think on the backs of business, we can continue to recreate this economy.
And you know what, David, even this past year, our local businesses going through these challenges, they still thought about the greater good and still committed resources. For example, Murphy's Bar and Grill donated a bunch of lunches, or businesses contribute to the food bank, because we all knew that we have to do this together and push through together. And so it just exemplifies how the business community have rallied to ensure that Hawaii can be protected and supported as we go through this pandemic.
Yes. Well, listen, we love what you're doing. Keep doing it. We love that you decided to come home. Like you said, the Hilo girl is now in charge, the big boss at the whole Chamber of Commerce Hawaii, president and CEO. But before we let you go, we kind of have a fun little segment at the end called Pojano, where we kind of chill out. These are some questions. We want to find out a little bit more about you and find out what Sherry likes and so here's one: baked, steamed manapua.
Okay.
Which one?
Wait, what was the first one?
Sorry, baked or steamed manapua?
Oh, I like steamed.
The steamed. I like the baked ones because anyway they go good with the fried rice. Anyway, that's just my thing. But, so how about there's all kinds of musubi out there. Is there any place you like to go if you like special local grinds or you want to get a good musubi?
Sherry's home.
Sherry?
I do.
Oh, you're a musubi maker. Okay.
Every Saturday.
Okay, what's the secret? Is there a secret in the recipe? Everybody got to know.
That's why it's a secret.
Okay, darn it.
But I've been told. So we try to golf on whenever we can, and when we do, I make musubis for the entire staff at the golf course.
Okay.
And I've been told it was one of the best. So that's the
you
only
like them
thing
hot? Are they hot?
I can't cook anything else.
Okay, you're the musubi chef of Oahu. So you like them hot or cold?
Oh, it's got to be hot. I wake up early, cook the rice. Everything is all fresh.
Okay.
And then wrap it up in saran wrap to contain the steam. So when you open up, ready to eat, bite into it, it is moist, it is fresh.
It's the whole effect.
It's the whole effect.
Yeah. You can't it's not just musubi. It's the musubi at the place where you present them and everyone opens them up together and they're talking. And that's awesome.
I make some healthy ones too, tofu musubi.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that. Now, listen, how about during this pandemic, an unsung hero, someone who's just, through this whole thing is maybe a mentor for you, or even just someone that says, listen, they really they were kind of a rock for me, or someone that just, did it right or felt good and as you watched them?
Quite frankly, I can't choose one.
Sure.
And as I mentioned earlier, it's the local businesses that have been the unsung heroes in terms, and so many from the healthcare industry, frontline workers. We've all recognized that, but for what we do and our daily and regular interaction with the businesses and the phone calls we get, emails, text messages, it's just I can't even describe how. I get emotional now.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. They really do. They wake up in the morning. My parents were bakers, and they small business. That's why I went to college, because I didn't want to get up at 11 o'clock at night and go make the donuts. But I saw them working, and just tirelessly. 12 hours a day was nothing. That was a good day. And these folks putting it out like that, it's awesome to watch.
It is. So I can't really pinpoint one.
For sure. Well, hey, we'll sing praise to all of them. Every day
there's a different unsung hero.
Right. Yeah. And so, and I think they're glad, to have a voice like yours there. Now, when this pandemic everyone gets their vaccines and we say we can mask off and we want to go to a big event, what's the big thing that you want to go to in Hawaii? What thing that with a lot of people around? You got any thoughts on that?
Ooh.
Are you a concert goer?
I've been to a handful.
Uh-huh.
I just want to have. So I had I'm giving away my age. I'm
Uh-huh.
just made half century old. And
Uh-oh.
for 2 birthdays, I haven't had a chance to have that birthday
Oh,
party.
big
And so,
party time, huh?
yeah, I might have to throw a belated one and
Mm-hmm.
just not celebrate just my 50th, but
Mm-hmm.
more just celebrate everybody
Uh-huh.
for persevering through this
Right.
time. So,
Just
yeah.
celebration, give a little back, take a little, everyone just kind of like, yeah, celebrate.
And hugs, a lot of
That's right.
hugs.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a place that you go in Hawaii, I don't, again, no secrets. We don't know your musubi recipe, and we don't know where you go. Secret place in Hawaii to go to recharge. But do you have a place, is there a place in general you like to go to Hawaii for? It's kind of, you call yours, and a place where you go and say, I can get recentered here.
Yeah, I wish it was back home in Hilo.
Uh,
But now that we don't have to take the test if you're fully vaccinated,
I
I
know.
probably go home more often. I've only been
Mhm,
home a couple of times in the past year.
mhm.
Uh, but when I get off that plane and I walk through the Hilo International Airport,
Uh-huh.
air is different, the energy. I just, going to the home where I grew up, and just, yeah, it's a, whew.
Where you at? Yeah, it is. As soon as you get on the lucky we live Hilo, you get that feeling, it's a little bit rainy,
Oh,
but there's that little rainbow, and then you look up the hill, you got both mountains sitting there looking at you, and you're like, I'm home.
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
it's awesome.
Stop by KTA, stop by Hilo Lunch Shop, stop
Yeah,
by,
yeah, that's
and
right.
just go back to, where I once was and
Yeah.
just reconnect with some friends there. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's my recharge space.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure they're waiting for you over there right now. But you mentioned this little vaccination card here. So if you like to inter island travel, this looks like it might be your ticket. And so
Exactly. I see
make
that
sure
you're
everyone.
fully vaccinated.
Yes, yeah. I just say it doesn't have my social security number on here, but anyway, it says I'm good to go. Hopefully, whatever mechanism they're using to do that, and hopefully that just frees up again, this commerce and people moving and spending those hard-earned dollars and bringing Hawaii back. And,
Yeah, and allowing locals to be able to travel more freely now, because when you think about a family of four, $150 a test, that's a lot of money. And
yeah,
so now with that cost, removed, hopefully we can see more families getting together and generating more economic activity on the neighbor islands
yeah.
as well.
Yes. Well, listen, Sherry, you've been sort of a breath of fresh air for us here. Your energy, and that you went to all these places across the world, and you decided to come back home to Hawaii and make it. And I think we appreciate that you just made that choice. And hopefully, as things proceed and commerce continues to grow, and we see the results of these different programs that are out there, that you'll come back on and share with us some of the awesome things that you're doing and that your team is taking care of.
I would love to. Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome. Sherry, again, and also to the Hawaii Boss crew out there, take a look at the Chamber of Commerce Hawaii. Take a look at what Sherry's got going on over there, and if you're a small business trying to get moving and things you want to get it going in the right direction, not sure what to do, Sherry and her team will certainly help her out. Again, Sherry, thank you, and aloha and hui hua.
Thank you. Good to see you.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.